Welcome back, deep divers. Ready for another plunge into the world of narrative enchantment?
Always up for an adventure, especially one that delves into the heart of storytelling itself.
Well, buckle up, because today we're cracking open episode 8 of Emerald Wonderland, and trust me, things get meta.
Meta indeed. This episode isn't just a story, it's a commentary on the very art of storytelling. It's like the creators took all those classic fairy tales, threw them in a blender, and hit pulse.
And voila! You've got a swirling vortex of whimsy and wisdom, all served up with a side of existential pondering.
Precisely. We're not just following a plot, we're exploring the building blocks of narrative itself. It's like those How It's Made episodes, but for fairy tales.
Okay, that is a fantastic analogy. But before we get lost in the sauce, let's set the stage. Episode 8 throws us right into the thick of it. Our heroes are on a quest to find the Pen of Resolution.
Ah, the Pen of Resolution. A fitting MacGuffin for an episode so obsessed with the power of narrative. It's like the ultimate writing tool, capable of bringing harmony to even the most chaotic of stories.
It's giving me serious Excalibur vibes. But instead of uniting a kingdom, it's like this pen has the power to unite conflicting narratives, to bring balance to the very fabric of storytelling.
Exactly. And to find this legendary artifact, our heroes have to journey through a realm where stories are as tangible as the ground beneath their feet. Enter the Story Weaver ship.
Okay, talk about a stroke of genius. A ship that sails on a river of pure narrative energy, guided by a crew of talking animals who quote Shakespeare. I mean, come on, it's pure whimsy.
And yet, there's a deeper meaning there, isn't there? The Story Weaver isn't just a whimsical mode of transport. It's a metaphor for how stories transport us, how they carry us to new and unexpected places.
Whoa. Mind blown. It's like the creators are saying, hop aboard this vessel of imagination and let us take you on a journey through the very heart of storytelling.
Precisely. And as our heroes embark on this journey, they encounter challenges that are as symbolic as they are entertaining. We're talking about enchanted forests, mythical creatures, and temptations tailored to their deepest desires.
It's like they're navigating a landscape built from all those classic fairy tale tropes, but with a distinctly Emerald Wonderland twist.
Exactly. Take, for instance, their encounter with the mermaid dryad. Half mermaid, half tree nymph, guarding this hidden grove with a gaze that could pierce your soul.
Okay, that scene gave me chills. But it also got me thinking, what's the deeper significance there? What do those two mythical creatures combined into one represent in the grand scheme of the story?
It's all about duality, isn't it? The mermaid, often associated with the allure of the unknown, the depths of our emotions, and then the dryad, representing the wisdom of nature, the interconnectedness of all living things.
So by combining those two, are the creators suggesting that our emotions and our connection to the natural world are somehow intertwined? That to understand one, we must also understand the other?
It's a fascinating interpretation, and it speaks to this episode's exploration of balance. The balance between our internal and external worlds, between logic and emotion, between the stories we tell ourselves and the stories we choose to share.
And speaking of stories we tell ourselves, let's talk about those hybrid characters. Lion Hatter, for example. He's like if the Cowardly Lion and the Mad Hatter had a baby, and that baby was raised by a pack of stand-up comedians.
Don't forget a healthy dose of existential angst. Lion Hatter is a walking paradox. Brave, yet cowardly, nonsensical, yet insightful. He embodies those inherent contradictions within us all.
And it's not just him, right? You've got Dorothy still clinging to that yearning for home, but now grappling with the realization that there's no place like Emerald Wonderland either.
Precisely. And Alice. Oh, Alice. She's gone from tumbling down rabbit holes to questioning the very nature of reality itself. It's like this world, this collision of narratives, is forcing them all to confront their own preconceived notions of who they are or what they believe.
It's like they're all on these journeys of self-discovery, but instead of following a map, they're writing the map as they go. And the ink, well, that's pure, unadulterated narrative chaos.
And speaking of chaos, did you catch that moment right before the first commercial break where they encounter the fog of lost stories?
Oh, man, talk about a cliffhanger. It's like they literally sailed into a cloud of what-ifs and almosts, and suddenly all those unresolved narratives are swirling around them, threatening to pull them under.
It's a brilliant metaphor for how our past experiences, those unresolved issues and lingering regrets, can cloud our judgment and hold us back from reaching our full potential.
It's like that saying, you can't run from your past. Or, in this case, you can't outrun a fog made of narrative debris. But hey, that's what cliffhangers are for, right? To leave us on the edge of our seats, pondering those big existential questions. And we're back, deep divers, navigating the swirling mists of Emerald Wonderland. When we left off, our heroes were facing down a literal fog of lost stories, all those what-ifs and almosts, threatening to drag them into a sea of unresolved narratives.
It's a brilliant visual representation of how easily we can get caught up in the past, haunted by those lingering what-ifs and missed opportunities.
It's like that saying, you can't outrun your past. But in this case, it's less about outrunning and more about confronting those unresolved narratives head-on.
Precisely. And that's where the episode's exploration of personal growth through conflict really comes into play. Because, let's be honest, who hasn't struggled with a bit of what-if syndrome now and then?
Oh, absolutely. I know I have. But in Emerald Wonderland, those what-ifs are given a tangible form, these wispy tendrils of doubt and regret that can literally ensnare you.
And it's not enough to just acknowledge them, is it? Our heroes can't simply sail around this fog. They have to find a way to navigate through it.
Which is where those individual strengths we were talking about earlier come in handy. Alice, with her logic and her thirst for understanding, she's the one who figures out that the fog feeds on their fear, on their hesitation.
And Wendy, bless her optimistic heart, she reminds everyone that even in the darkest of fogs, there's always a glimmer of hope. It's those tiny sparks of belief that keep them moving forward, that prevent them from getting completely lost in the haze.
And then there's Lionheader, our resident walking, talking paradox. He's the one who realizes that sometimes the best way to combat chaos is with a little chaos of your own.
It's brilliant. He basically weaponizes his own brand of madness, using nonsense and absurdity to disrupt the fog's hold on their minds. It's like he intuitively understands that laughter, that willingness to embrace the absurd, can be a powerful antidote to fear and doubt.
It's a good reminder that sometimes a little levity can go a long way, even when you're facing your deepest fears. But it's more than just individual resilience that gets them through this, right? There's this incredible moment where their stories, their individual narratives start to intertwine, almost like threads weaving together to create a stronger, more resilient rope.
Exactly. And that's where the episode's message about the power of shared experiences, of collaborative storytelling, really shines through. Because they realize that they're not alone in this struggle. They have each other, and they have the strength of their combined stories to help them find their way.
And that's when we get that breathtaking visual of Dorothy's dress transforming, right? It starts as her classic blue gingham, but as their stories intertwine, it gradually becomes this intricate patchwork quilt, each piece representing a shared experience, a moment of connection.
It's such a powerful symbol of their growing unity, of how their individual journeys are becoming intertwined. And as their bond strengthens, so too does their resolve. They emerge from the fog of lost stories not unscathed, but definitely stronger, more aware of themselves and each other.
But they're not out of the woods yet, are they? Because on the other side of that fog, waiting for them, is Muse, the embodiment of narrative conflict herself, and she is not there to play patty cake.
Oh no, Muse is not here for games. She's ready to throw down, to unleash the full force of her chaotic energy on our heroes. And let me tell you, things are about to get very, very interesting.
And we're back, diving headfirst into the final act of this Emerald Wonderland showdown. Our heroes are facing Muse, the embodiment of narrative conflict. Talk about a cliffhanger.
You know, it's interesting. Most stories would frame this as the moment where the heroes rally, prove their strengths, and vanquish the big bad.
Right. Good triumphs over evil, roll credits, everyone goes home happy.
But Emerald Wonderland doesn't go for the easy answer. It doesn't shy away from the complexity of what Muse represents. She's chaos, yes, but she's also the catalyst for change, for growth.
So it's not as simple as just defeating her.
Exactly. Because in trying to destroy conflict, you also risk destroying the very things that make a story compelling. The tension, the uncertainty, the struggle to overcome obstacles.
Okay, I'm starting to see where this is going. So if they're not trying to vanquish Muse, what are they trying to do?
They're trying to understand her, to find a way to coexist with the chaos she represents, to bring her into balance, not eliminate her entirely.
And that's where Dorothy's patchwork dress comes into play again, right? It's like that visual representation of their shared experiences becomes the key to unlocking a new understanding of Muse.
It's brilliant, because it's not just Dorothy's story anymore, is it? It's everyone's. It's the embodiment of their combined experiences, their willingness to embrace each other's truths, their flaws, their triumphs.
And Muse, she can't help but be drawn to it. It's like that tapestry of shared narratives is something she's both terrified of and strangely drawn to.
Because it represents something she's never encountered before.
Yeah.
A force that doesn't seek to control or suppress chaos, but to harmonize with it.
It's like they're showing her that true strength lies in embracing both the light and the shadow, the order and the chaos, that it's not about eliminating one or the other, but finding that delicate balance between them.
Exactly. And as Muse allows herself to be enveloped by that tapestry of stories, as she begins to understand the power of shared experiences, something incredible happens. The mountain of chaos, her domain, it begins to transform.
Wait, the mountain literally changes? Like, physically?
Oh, yeah. It's not just a metaphorical transformation. It's a physical manifestation of the shift happening within Muse herself. The sharp, jagged peaks soften, becoming rolling hills. Thorny brambles give way to lush gardens. And at the very top, where once there was only a desolate fortress of shadows.
Don't tell me. A library!
Bingo. The ultimate symbol of knowledge, of shared stories, of the boundless possibilities that emerge when we embrace the full spectrum of human experience.
Okay, chills. That is such a beautiful ending. It's not about defeating chaos, but about transforming it, about finding a way for all those seemingly contradictory elements to coexist in harmony.
And you know what's even more amazing? The episode doesn't end with a neat little bow on top. Muse is still there, still a force to be reckoned with, but she's changed. She's evolved.
So it's not a complete victory, but it's not a defeat either. It's more like a draw.
I'd call it a transformation. A reminder that growth and change are ongoing processes, and that even the most seemingly insurmountable conflicts can lead to unexpected resolutions.
It's a hopeful message, and I think that's what I love most about Emerald Wonderland. Yes, it's whimsical and imaginative, but it's also surprisingly profound in its exploration of these universal themes.
Agreed. It reminds us that stories have the power to not only entertain, but to challenge us, to make us think, and ultimately to inspire us to embrace the full complexity of our own narratives.
Beautifully said. Well, on that note, I think it's time for us to step out of this particular wonderland and back into reality.
Until next time, deep divers. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep embracing the power of stories.